really cool stuff, mostly glass, in this beautiful building that was built in the early 70s but made to look like a Victorian house. So why don't we go inside? Today with Miss Kristen Qualls, who is the
Director of Exhibitions and Collections at the Museum of American Glass at Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center.
Let's give her a big hand for that title. Woo! And we're here at Wheaton Arts, and we're here in the museum. I'm going to call it the Grand Foyer. It's really magnificent. I mean, there's chandeliers, there's raised wallpaper. It's very Victorian. And I really like it. And what are we standing in front of, Kristen? What is this? The past meets the future.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Well, this year, 2020, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. And so this wall is introducing us to the exhibit as well as to our celebration, such as it is in the year 2020, of our 50th. So we'll be continuing this through next year to give everyone a chance to access it. So really what we have are some imagery here that kind of covers the gamut of glass here in New Jersey. So we have an image, these guys are blowing a glass bottle in a mold in the old Wheaton Glass Industries factory. Right. That probably would have been the 1930s around. Here we have...
Judging by the caps
yes,
alone.
Yes, exactly. Here we have Skitch Mannion, who is our current studio manager. Working on a piece with Michael Jew, who's a contemporary artist who came down to work with us for our Emanation project. So that happened a couple of years ago in our studio.
I love all the tools and everything.
Yes, exactly.
I've seen them cut glass with scissors. It's like, wow, that's really happening, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can see this tool right here. It's the jacks, and that's the same that this guy's using.
Oh, wow.
So it's the same tools.
Same tool, different decade.
Yep.
Nice. What's going on down here?
Well, what we have down here is, this was actually from an installation from our Down Jersey Folk Life Center programming, where again we're able to merge with some artists that are doing work that represent their communities, their backgrounds, and their cultures, and blend them with the glass. Here you see an image of our first set of artist fellows that came in 1983. Again, we invite artists to come in to use our studio to explore their practice in glass. This is a more recent fellow. This is Alexander Rosenberg. You might be familiar with him if you've seen the Blown Away series on Netflix. He was a contestant.
Wonderful. I love the furnace.
Yes.
It's so beautiful,
yes,
the way it's constructed.
Yes, the stack.
Did they ever use it for a pizza oven? Or would the pizza incinerate immediately?
We actually did have a pizza oven in the studio.
I knew it. I just knew that.
For a while. It was great. We'd have Pizza Fridays.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Help feed the
glass
community of artists.
Pizza.
No, not glass pizza. Although I have seen glass pizza because...
I bet you have.
If it exists, someone has tried to make it out of glass.
What are these ladies doing?
Well, these ladies, this again is another picture from the TC Wheaton Glass Factory. So back when we used to hand blow the bottles in molds, each of these bottles would be hand ground with a stopper that would be hand ground to fit that exact top. So what these ladies are doing are tying the stoppers to the neck of the bottles so the right stopper goes with the right bottle.
Wow.
So that is one of the few jobs in a glass factory that a woman could have.
What a lovely, tedious job for a
turn of the
woman.
last century, right? Exactly.
I love her, the pompadours.
Yes, the hair is
They've
still
got
up.
The pompadours.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
My goodness, you're looking stylish, ladies, and while you're doing your tedium work. Even a young girl, she's probably like 13 or 14, if not younger.
Quite possibly, yes.
It's amazing. Child labor laws.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about what Wheaton Arts is all about. How did it come to be? And it's amazing, and I really love it here.
Well, great. Thank you so much.
I won't stop gushing. I hope you know. I'm an artist of many mediums myself, and just to be surrounded by folks' creativity really just does it for me. So.
Great. Well, that's why we're here now, to celebrate and explore creativity. So we started because T.C. Wheaton, back in 1888, started the T.C. Wheaton glass factory. He had been a pharmacist, realized he could cut out the middleman and getting those bottles to put his medicine in, and shifted over to the glass side. So fast forward to the 1960s, his grandson, Frank Wheaton Jr., is visiting a large glass museum in upstate New York, and that has a tremendous collection, and he finds South Jersey glass there and realizes that there's not a place here in South Jersey to celebrate the incredible heritage of South Jersey glass, and takes it upon himself to help create that. Hence the idea of Wheaton Arts, or Wheaton Village as it was then known, was born. So the American glass industry really got its start in South Jersey in 1739 at Wisterburg, the first successful American glass factory. And then, by the 1890s, every town in South Jersey had a glass factory, and we were certainly a stronghold in glass manufacturing in America. So that's why it's important to maintain that history and preserve those skills and values that come with a community of people working with the medium of glass.
Now, I was fortunate enough to go out to Detroit last year to pick up my diploma for my Master's of Library Science.
Congratulations! Thank
you, because I went online and I was like, I need a road trip. So I went and walked in my ceremony and all that stuff. And I took a day and I went to the Henry Ford Museum. Yes. And this smacks a little bit of the Henry Ford Museum in terms of creating an actual village or a place where you can go and sort of be immersed in the day, whatever the day that was. But Henry Ford wanted to recreate his whole childhood and life, and and other people's. He kind of co-opted other people's childhoods and life, like the Wright brothers and Edison, But this reminds me of that. That gives me a little flavor of that.
Yes, absolutely. The idea of an industry magnate wanting to create a historic, nostalgic, historic place
where there were no political issues or no problems.
Exactly. There's no city hall in this village.
No taxes here.
Exactly. So they both have that sort of interesting history where there's a lot of integrity and authenticity in the artifacts, and some of the pieces, but it's couched in one man's, again, nostalgic view of what he wants to remember from history and pass on.
Exactly.
So yes, very much so a connection there.
So do you think the grandson of Wheaton was trying to, I wonder if he ever made it out to Henry Ford, who knows, right?
Yeah, I do know that he went to Disney World, and we have images of Disney World that help influence what our main LA down there looks like, what some of our buildings look like. He went around to Cape May. He went to Sturbridge Village. He went to Williamsburg, which is Rockefeller.
Oh, my goodness.
So again, this idea of an industry magnate developing a historic village.
And this building, it was built in the
1970s.
Okay, the early 70s, and it's Victorian, out the wazoo.
Absolutely. Again, the 70s were, approaching bicentennial fever.
That's right.
And so it's a popular way of displaying history is having these faux historic interiors. So it's kind of it's a set piece. Well, in this gallery, we're looking at some of the earlier glass. Again, we're the Museum of American Glass, looking at that American history.
Right.
So in these pieces, you can see this early green glass. New Jersey was very successful at glass making because we had the sand, we had the trees for the furnaces, and the potash that was another ingredient. And with the bay, we had the oysters, which was for lime for another ingredient.
Nice.
We were also near waterways, so all of these pieces that were being made could be shipped to Philadelphia, New York, Boston to be sold.
Because we had the railroads too.
Exactly.
So we had all the ingredients down here in South Jersey for this industry.
Yes, exactly. So this is early colonial and early 1800s glass.
Beautiful. So what's this all about?
So one of the interesting things about all the factories that were in South Jersey is that the glassblowers were allowed to make their own items on their off time, so on their lunch hours or afterwards. So these are examples of pieces that were made by local glassblowers. This is John Rulander.
Wow.
You can see this is a 16-part decanter.
Wow.
So there's 8 bubbles on bottom and 8 bubbles on top. Each
That's
a
incredible.
separate container.
Like a chamber.
Exactly.
Right?
So
Wow.
he's
with a little stopper.
Exactly.
Those little
So
stoppers?
he's showing off how good he is with his glass skills.
It's beautiful.
Over here we have some pieces by Ralph Barber. He also worked in Whittle Tatum and Wheaton, as well as up at the Vineland Flint Glass Works. And he was well known as the country's best X-ray tube maker.
Oh my goodness.
But you can see,
But this is him on his spare time.
On his spare time, so you can see he's taking those skills of how to manipulate the glass learned by making X-ray tubes and creating these decorative pieces using different techniques that he'd seen on his free time.
That's beautiful. Made by in Vineland by him in the 20s.
Yep.
That's wonderful. Now, I'm nothing if not whimsical, so the word whimsy really does it for me.
Yes, again, these are the pieces made at the glassblower's whim in the after hours or over lunchtime.
I mean, just amazing stuff, like rolling pins.
Yes, they would have made things, you know, handy for home, like rolling pins and sock darners, back when we used to actually repair socks. Toys for kids, which you can see those turtles. Beautiful vases that could be given away as gifts.
A trumpet.
Yes.
And it was given in memory of Helen and David Horn. So I don't know if they did that on purpose. And then some lovely tobacco smoking appurtenances, if you will. Don't do this at home, kids.
Yes, and those often would be, again, you could use them to barter. And the days before everyone was literate, they could be hung on the sign of the tobacconist.
That's right.
So people would know it was a tobacconist.
Visually associate the craft or the
Yes,
the
exactly.
product.
And then I'm sure, you know, I'll make you this really nice pipe if you give me a
me
pouch
the-
of tobacco. Exactly.
Or that cake. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love this. What is it? I don't know. What is it? Well, to me that looks like an iron.
Yes, that would have been from World War II when the metal was being
Nice.
used to make tanks and planes. And the metal factories asked the glass factories if they could make items out of glass that, again, traditionally would have been metal. So Corning made this iron. It came in red, green, and blue, so you
It's
could get
really
one to match
beautiful.
your decor.
But the bottom of it, is that
It's-
glass or is that
No,
metal?
that's still
That's
metal.
the only thing that's metal,
Yeah.
whereas the whole thing would have been made of metal.
Exactly, exactly.
And the tiniest little jars.
Yes, tiny little teardrop bottles to collect your teardrops in.
Aww, I need a bigger bottle.
Well, this exhibit is celebrating our 50th anniversary, so we're using items from the museum's collection. And as I was looking through the pieces that have been made here by the artists who have been visiting or as fellows, I noticed a lot of them referenced hands and tools. So the idea that all the historic stuff we've been looking at was made by someone using their hands. It wasn't automated. You might have had a press or a machine involved, but it was made by someone with skills with the medium. So what we see here are different representations of hands. That piece that has the sand on it, for example, is the glassblower who's taken sand and actually gripped it and used that as a mold for the glass. So you actually have your handprint in the glass, which again, as a medium, you can't touch directly, is an interesting way of leaving her mark. These pieces are by Donald Lipsky. He enjoyed that Art Nouveau collection, especially the Durand items that were made down here in South Jersey and Vineland. So he worked with our studio to recreate some of those shapes and patterns, but he wanted to remember these precious collectibles, again, were all made by someone. And so he's sort of violently reminding you.
Violated Art Nouveau.
Exactly.
I love how the saw is sticking out a bit and making the glass kind of go with it.
Bulge out a bit. Yes, so this is his, his way of expressing that, again, all of this stuff in this museum, someone's creativity and hands were involved with the creation of it.
It's just incredible. Creation defined. That's really interesting with the bees, the imprint of the bees, the honeycombing.
Yes, there's a couple of different techniques in there with some screen printing on the glass.
Like the honeycomb up in the tube too.
Yeah.
It's really neat. This is very cool. I like that brush a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, using the glass as bristles.
You know, maybe I'd get my big head out of the way so you get a good shot. Wow. That's very cool.
And you'd mentioned using glass cut with the shears or the scissors. So you see this artist, it's Pat de Verre technique, where you take finely ground glass and put it in a mold and then fuse it together. So he's recreated some of those tools from the studio.
To the tool. Yes,
absolutely.
Without the tool, where would we be?
Exactly, and then someone again a homage to the molds used to shape the glass. So one of the major changes in glass, again, the blowpipe was invented in 50 BCE, so they had been making it largely the same way for a long time, was the invention of the press. So the press allows you to pour glass into these molds and then press down into it, and that creates both a shape and a pattern on the glass. So it's a hot process to create the glass pieces.
And who makes the molds?
Exactly, so there would be foundries, some of them associated with the glass factories. So if someone would design it, then someone would make a wooden model, then that wooden model would go to the foundry where then they cast the metal, and then someone gets to go in there and burnish off all the little extra bits. So the molds in and of themselves are pieces of art to me.
Right, oh definitely. The whole machine is a piece of art.
Yes.
But the molds, yes, absolutely. And from that, we have glass like this.
Yes, exactly. So again, both the shape and the pattern would be impressed in the mold. And again, you still need to have a deep understanding of the material of glass to use these. The temperature had to be just right, and the metal and the glass, exactly how much to put in, when to pull it out. So you still really need to understand glass in order to be able to create these pieces.
Yeah. Can you tell me about this very interesting item over here?
Yes, the glass coffins, a short-lived phase at the turn of the last century to create, again, these large-scale, there's a large-scale pressing of a piece of glass. They weren't very successful because that's a very difficult process. I can also state from having helped move this piece in here that it's, oh my gosh, it's ridiculously heavy. I do know that there is a full-sized adult one in the Corning collection, and if you would like to see one on display, you can go to Houston at the Museum of Funerary History. Here we have a child's size casket as well as the salesman's version, which came in this nice leather tote that could be carried around.
So I'm just imagining, yes, ma'am. No, I am not selling vacuum cleaners today. I am selling glass caskets for your pet. That's just incredible. I mean, the work and the detail in the lining, all the cloth, the sequins, the ruching of I'm just blown away. The beads. And then the thing is made out of glass. So you're just like, huh? What? And then milk glass. I love this. Look at these babies.
Yes, very popular, and part of it, is trying to copy porcelain, which would have been more expensive. So again, it's an example of glass trying to imitate other materials or other things. This is very popular in the Victorian era.
I love the critters. I love all of the critters. I love this cat.
The scaredy
is
cat.
Like, why am I here? And then what's that all about?
So the steer head, it's a mustard pot. So the head comes off and the tongue is a little spoon.
No way.
Yes. Yeah, they're very, hen and nest is a very popular.
Oh, that's really neat.
Style. You might see them. People collect them.
Got a little fish boat. Yep. I mean, literally a fish boat.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every animal imaginable.
I love the frog.
Yeah.
The frog is amazing. You got to get your hunting dog in there. The pointer. Oh, this is truly amazing. What a wonderful thing. That poor owl lost his other eyeball along the way there.
Pendulums swing back into more natural inspirations. So you see, you know, with the plants and the more organic shapes, and also
the vines and stuff.
Yes, and the iridization. So part of what's happening here is there's a lot of archaeology happening, and they're pulling up the old Roman bottles, and they have that sort of shiny, iridized look. Now that's because the Romans' glass was a newer technology. It had been buried underground, so it went through what we call devitrification, where some of the materials of the glass leach out and make it shiny. Tiffany Studios figured out how to do that with a spray to sort of create this iridized look that became very popular. And you can see, you know, sort of this feathering and the color. So that knowledge is in with the glass blowers that work for Tiffany. So some of them left Tiffany and started Kazal up in Brooklyn. Ooh. So you see similarities in the color, that feathering pattern. Again, amazing glass blowers, maybe not the world's best businessmen. Right. So the Kazal company shut down, and a number of these glass makers were hired by Victor Durand for the Vineland Flint Glass Works, and came to work here in South Jersey, creating more Art Nouveau work. So again, you see some of that feathering and some of that, the same colors and the same shapes coming through, because it's the same glass blowers that are traveling between the different studios.
Beautiful. What a continuum.
Yes.
Story from Tiffany to their own to Durant. Can you tell me a little bit about the Down Jersey Folklife Center, and why does that guy say Down Jersey?
Excellent question. This piece is by the De La Torre brothers, and they actually made it while they were here during one of our Folklife Center programs. The Folklife Center, which is run by Dr. Iveta Pergova, has worked with over 60 different cultures of people down here in South Jersey to look at their sort of their traditions, especially through art, both fine art and performance art, and how it translates into continuing to happen today. So this is a great example. We were doing Mexican cultures, and the De La Torre brothers are Mexican, and so they combined the sort of iconography from Day of the Dead with some of the iconography from South Jersey.
Wow, what a wonderful piece. I love it, and I really love this circus piece over here as well, just because there's so much going on.
And that's an example of flame working, where
and the stamp.
A lot of this
inside
is made out of a furnace, a tank furnace, whereas this is at a torch, where you have smaller pieces of glass that you can delicately sculpt.
That's very cool.
A great example of flame working.
That's wonderful.
Is this chess set over here?
Oh, the chess set is I couldn't believe it. When I saw this, I almost fell over. This is like, I don't even know what to say.
Yes, so you can see how incredibly detailed it is, and that you can get, when you get down in there with just a flame on a torch. This artist, Gianni Toso, he was a fellow here. One of his parents was Jewish, one of his parents was Catholic, and he created these chess sets as he tried to work through which religion he felt he belonged to. I think if you look at the faces, you can tell which way he went.
Yeah, there's just so much detail. If you come here to the Wheaton Arts, please stop here and dig this chess set, because it is incredible. The detail involved in every single chess piece is extraordinary. And the two ladies, the female representations are very interesting as well.
Yes.
She almost looks like, like the bad queen from one of the Disney movies, and I don't even know what to say about this nun here.
Right.
I can't even comment, because the nun looks just like the bishop. It's really incredible. Wow. Kristen, thank you so much for having us here today, for taking the time to walk us through this incredible place of which we saw this much of. So please come to the Wheaton Arts Center on the weekends from 11 to 4.
Exactly.
But check the website.
Yes, please check the website.
Because, anything's subject to change in these terrible COVID times.
Yes, WheatonArts.org.
Please come here, and I just thank you so much for opening this place to us, for having us here, for taking the time to walk us through, for your incredible knowledge and passion for this type of creative expression.
Well,
and go glass.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
All right. Nice to meet you, too.
Nice to meet you, too.
Bye. Hey, friends. What's happening? Today, we are going to read this incredibly fabulous book called The Glassmaker's Daughter. I hope you all enjoyed your visit to Wheaton, and a big thanks and shout out to Kristen Qualls for showing us around the museum when other people weren't allowed to be in there. They opened the museum for us, up for us at Wheaton, the Museum of American Glass, and we are very grateful to you guys for doing that for us. And so we hope you enjoyed your part 1 visit to Wheaton today. This book is all about glassmaking, and also a story about a daughter of a glassmaker. And let me just read the preface for you before we get started. It's written by Diane Hoffmeyer and illustrated by Jane Ray. So in Venice, recipes for making glass were kept closely guarded. A guild for glassmakers, the Arts Fiolaria, was started in 1224. That's a long time ago. Glassmakers became so important they were allowed to carry swords, and their daughters married into Venice's wealthiest families. But there was a catch. Glassmakers were not allowed to leave the city in case their secret recipes were passed to other cities and countries. Looking glass was made by covering a flat sheet of glass with a thin layer of silver, mercury, and tin, sometimes even with gold, which made the reflection more beautiful. There was a separate guild for looking glass makers. They made sure the recipe for making a mirror remained secret. So here's The Glassmaker's Daughter. Diane dedicated it to Nikki and Jude, and Jane dedicated it to her dear friend Sita Brahmachari, with love. So here we go. There was once a beautiful city on the water. Its palaces floated like birds in nests on the sea, and its lamplight danced like fireflies across the ripples. Look at beautiful Venice. What a gorgeous picture with the moon and the stars, all the birdies and the water and the boats, which they call gondolas. Hey. Daniela, the glassmaker's daughter, lived in the shimmering city surrounded by delicate glass made in her father's furnace. Yet despite all this beauty, Daniela was a melancholy girl. That's another word for sad. She lay next to the canal all day long, scowling into the water, gloomy, glum, and bored. But she had an awfully nice kitty and a plant, and she's wearing a beautiful dress. In despair, her father announced, "I'll give a glass palace to any person who can make my daughter smile." See that little bird? So his glass blowers set to work. They blew and pulled and pinched the molten glass into a silver-spun walls with pineapple-top turrets and winged dragon doors. News soon spread of the silver-spun palace, and people came from far and wide to compete for Daniela's smile. Look at that. It's a whole building made of glass. Isn't that amazing? Wow. And look at these guys coming on the boat with pineapples. Big glass pineapples. The first to arrive was Maestro Barbagaletta. "Regard this," as he said, as he blew fiery rings of flame into the sky. He swallowed swords and snakes and almost turned himself inside out with his tricks on a tightrope. But instead of exciting Daniela, she was gloomier than ever. What's wrong with this girl? Who knows? Then the most famous of mask makers, Donna Violetta Rufina Zangara arrived with a cabinet of masks, moons and stars and suns, one a nest of twigs with tiny jewel-encrusted birds' eggs, another a mermaid's lair lined with shells and pearls. Look at all those beautiful masks. Did you see this costume this person is wearing with the feathers? Try these, they'll bring a smile to your face, said Donna Violetta Rufina Zangara, holding up the smiliest of all her masks. But instead of delighting Daniela, she was glummer than ever. What's it gonna take? Then Leonardo Leonino Grandi arrived. Behold this, he cried. He swept aside the curtain of his gondola. A huge lion jumped up with such a roar that the gondola rocked. Leonardo Leonini Grandi swayed and then fell backwards into the canal with an almighty splash with the lion on top of him. But even this didn't bring a smile to Daniela's face. Look at those fish. What a beautiful drawing. He lost his glove and his hat. What do they have to do to make this kid smile? Glove makers, tart bakers, trumpet players, dragon slayers, monkey trickers, pocket pickers, bell ringers, opera singers, oh, even sausage stringers. All failed to make Daniela smile. What's to be done? Her father groaned. How will such a miserable girl ever find happiness? Look at all those people, all the beautiful costumes they're wearing, their clothing, all of the things that they specialize in. I would smile. I don't know about you, but I would smile. But one young glassmaker longed more than anyone to make Daniela smile. See what he's doing? He's blowing his glass. And this is his furnace that the words are in. In the corner of the workshop, Angelo drew a molten globe from the furnace and blew a bubble of glass. Flux and fire, he whispered. Then he snipped the bubble and laid it flat and smooth on slivers of silver mercury. Mercury and tin, he chanted. Then he rubbed the slivers down with a hare's paw. Foiled and finished and polished thin. Then he sang his secret song again. Flux and fire, mercury and tin, foiled and finished and polished thin. God, I wonder what he's going to make. The other glassmakers peered across at him. What are you making, Angelo? A gift that will make Daniela smile. She hasn't smiled for an alchemist, an acrobat, an opera singer, or a sausage stringer. Why should she smile for you? Angelo ignored them all and went looking for Daniela. He held out his gift. Glass. I don't need glass. She pushed it aside. Look again, Principesse. Principesse. This is no ordinary piece of glass. It's different. Look into it. Ooh, wonder what it is. Daniela scowled as she held it up to her face. What do you see? Angelo asked. I see a creature with a mouth like an upside-down slice of lemon and the eyes of a cross dragon. Look again. She peered back at the glass. It's the funniest face in the world. Then the face started to change. The frown lines disappeared. The eyes sparkled. The mouth turned up. I would think that that is a little bit of a smile, don't you? Wow, look at this. She looks like she's going to laugh. Daniela burst out laughing. And the more she looked at the person in the glass, the more she laughed. At each fresh peal of laughter, the glass began to shiver and tinkle around her. The palace quivered. A pineapple snapped off the turret and came tumbling down. The silver-spun walls splintered. There was a sound of cracking, shattering, splintering. Oh! What do you think happened to the glass palace? Dun, dun, dun. The entire palace fell to smithereens. Do you see all the reflections of the glass in the picture? Isn't that beautiful? I hope everyone was okay, though. It is glass, right? Look at that picture. What a beautiful picture. It fell to smithereens. Daniela's father rushed forward. Angelo, I'll build you another palace, but tell me your secret. How did your magic glass change my daughter? Angelo shook his head. She changed herself. My glass only reflects what's already there. Happiness is inside all of us. You only have to discover it. Daniela couldn't stop herself from peeping into the glass and laughing again. You're right. I found it by looking at my gloomy, grumpy face. I don't need mask makers, tart bakers, trumpet players, dragon slayers, bell ringers, opera singers, or even sausage stringers to make me happy. And she laughed with such delight that the glass pieces at her feet started tinkling. Then every bell in the city began to wobble with her laughter. The sound pealed out until even the palaces seemed to rock on their floating nests, and all through the city people began to laugh and romp. Petticoats swirled, corsets popped, old men stomped, until even the Grand Doge came out of his palace to see what the fuss was about. When he heard Daniela's laughter, he kicked up his heels and danced. That's wonderful. So now when you hear the bells of Venice ringing out over the water, you can be sure Daniela is laughing. And don't be surprised if you peep into a looking glass to find a small smile creeping across your face. What a wonderful book that was! Yay! Woohoo! I give it a 9. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please stay tuned for a really cool craft that you're going to be able to do at home with your mom and dad. So thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning into Storytime. We'll see you next time. Hey everybody, what's happening? Woo! What's all this stuff over here? This is glass. We like glass, don't we? We just visited Wheaton. We had a wonderful time learning all about all kinds of glass. And I can tell you that this was a glass jar that was made in a mold. And you know how I could tell? Because it has these lines that run down on either side. And it is a ball jar. Usually people can fruits and vegetables and stick them in little ball jars like this, or jam. But today we're going to make a stained glass jar that you can put in your window, and you could put anything you want in it. You can even plant something in here if you want to, but you could put marbles in it or little rocks, whatever you want. But we're going to make it stained glass, and this is how we're going to do that. All you need is a small glass jar. It doesn't have to have any sort of raised anything. It could be a plain glass jar and as big or as little as you want it to be, and some felt tip markers. I'm going to use Sharpies because they come in such cool colors. And I'm just going to lay them out like this to see which ones we're going to use. What I'm going to do first, though, is because I'm making it a stained glass project, I'm going to do some outlines with my black Sharpie. And what I mean by that is you're just going to go crazy. You're going to just draw a line. Oh, wait, hold on. You know what? Just give me 1 second, kids. Let me see if I have the bigger Sharpie in here, because I think that's going to work better for a thicker line. Yes, that's right. Look at this big daddy Sharpie. Ooh, that's a big one. It's a chisel tip. So the tip is going to be different. Here, I'll show you the one we were using. It's pretty fine, so it's only going to draw a little line. But the chisel tip, whoa, whoa, look at that. All right, that's going to be much better. So I'm going to draw a line here and a line going like that. And another line coming down on an angle. You could do anything you want. You don't have to do it exactly like I do it. But you want to make it so that there's different sections that you're going to put different colors into. You could do it round, you could do it square, whatever you want. Here, I'll just make that line a little better. Make this line a little thicker. And the black lines are just separating the blocks of color that you're going to put into this. So it kind of looks a little bit like stained glass. All right, okay. Put that up that way. You can put this one down here. And then maybe make a little divide on an angle. So you can have triangles and quadrilaterals and whatever you want. But for this, see how there's like a little cornucopia in the front, which just means a little bunch of fruit? I'm actually going to color in the different fruit their proper color, so that's going to look really cool too. And you know what's nice about this? When you're finished with this project and all the ink is dry, you could put it in your window or take it outside, and it's going to make reflections of the different colors. So if you keep it inside, it's going to look really cool in a window that gets some sun during the day. It's going to make rainbows of colors. Yeah, that's right. Okay, we're just going to leave this middle part alone so that I could color it the proper colors that the fruit is. So have we got all of these things laid out here? I think we do. Maybe we'll just make one more line over here. Now you're going to decide what colors to use inside of all these shapes. I'm going to start with, I don't know, there's so many. I'm going to start with the orange Sharpie, right? And all you're going to do is, maybe it'd be best if you stick your hand inside of the jar. And, oh yeah, I forgot to add, kids, because this is glass, it's easily broken. So please have your caregiver, your mom or dad, your babysitter, whoever is home with you, please have them supervise this craft so that you don't break the jar. Because if you drop it on the floor, it might break, and we don't want anything to happen to you. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just going up and down with the Sharpie, and now that square is orange. What? It's so cool. That is so cool. And I'm gonna just go one color at a time. Actually, I'm gonna keep this on here just in case I don't want to get anything on the tablecloth. So we're going to go in and pick this color because that's a cool color. We'll go in right here and color that little space, this sort of turquoise color. Wow, that looks really pretty. I wonder how it's going to look when the whole thing is colored in. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to put the colors that I use over here so I can come back to them. What should we use next? What about yellow? That is a good idea. Whoever said yellow, thank you. Because it's going to, you can't, I mean, yellow's a little lighter than the other colors, but it's still going to make a pretty reflection when the sun comes through. Try not to color into the black too much because you're going to get black on your yellow. And we don't want that, right? Or what you might want to do is, because you have more time at home than we have during the craft time, you might want to do the black part and then let it dry completely, say maybe for like a half an hour, and then come back and do the colored part. But I think this is okay. What about this beautiful, what would you call this? Fuchsia, maybe? That would be, I think that would be a nice color right down here. Or like a dark pink. Oh, that looks really nice. I'm going to fill that whole space in. The whole space. So how's everybody doing? Did you enjoy that visit to Wheaton today? Wasn't it wonderful? Did you see all that cool glass? And our friend Kristen was telling us all about how Wheaton was started and was built, and there's just so much cool art going on there. Can you believe the things that you can make with glass? Right? Not just glasses or a windshield or a window in your house, but all those cool art pieces that were made out of glass that somebody actually thought of to do. I bet you could make a pizza out of glass, but I don't think it would be very, very tasty. Hey, I think I'm going to go with a darker blue this time. What do you think? I like that idea. Where are we going to put our darker blue? Let's see. What about over here? Okay, look at this. Whoa, that's exciting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these highlighters, right? And I'm going to see how well that color is going to come out around the rim. And it's pretty light, but that's okay. So just go around. If you don't have a highlighter, it's okay. You can use whatever color you want. But I'm just experimenting to see if it would look a little different. And it's coming out okay. So it's going to be a little bit lighter than the other colors, but I think it'll be fine. There's so many parts to this little jar. I hope you enjoyed coloring it. And maybe just another color for around the top. Maybe we'll use orange. I like orange. That's a nice color. And also you're going to really be able to see it. And you can even do the bottom too if you want to. You can hold it up to the light and everything will be color, color, color. That's right. Oops. Look, I colored myself orange. Yay. Well, we certainly hope you enjoyed your visit to Wheaton today. Please stay tuned because we're going to have 2 more visits to Wheaton with more exciting and interesting things, including a visit to the glass studio and the furnace. What? So there's your wonderful jar. I hope you enjoyed making it. It's out of glass. Now it looks like a little stained glass jar. Hold it up to the light. See if you like it. I hope you get a chance to do it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like our story times. And stay tuned for the next fun, exciting thing with story times from the Bridgeton Library. Yay! Take care, everybody. Peace and be safe.